You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Looking After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Looking After Show.
Oh, I was hoping we were going to get a little music. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
I was like, where's the music?
I requested some sexy music to start this.
Just want like the candles lit.
Yeah. I said it was only appropriate to have some sexy music since this is going to be there was some sexy happenings right at the beginning of the show.
That is right. What's up, everyone? We are here. Season 1, Episode 1 of brand spanking new show, Looking. This is the first episode, Looking for Now. I am your host, Scott Moore, along with the lovely.
I'm Kylie Hodges.
And we've got Ronnie on location for us from the Big Apple, New York. Hey, Ronnie.
What's up, you guys? Ronnie Jr. here.
Hey.
Nice to talk to you.
So good to have you a part of the group here, even though you're thousands of miles away. It feels like you're right here with us, though, and you're here with us in spirit.
I mean, we could all enjoy Looking, whether it's California, where you guys are, whether it's San Francisco, where the show's set, or whether it's the Big Apple. Yeah, that was a great show. I kind of dug it, you guys.
And everywhere in between, right?
I loved it as well. I'm really happy that, well, I guess I would say we're on the same page, but Scott, you haven't said if you liked it or not.
I hated it, but no. No, honestly, I really enjoyed it, and it was interesting for me as a viewer because I actually watched Queer as Folk and the UK version and the American version when it first came out at the turn of the century, back in the roaring aughts. So I'm an old gay. I actually watched that as I was coming of age, so it was neat to kind of watch that type of show and then see Looking today and see how much we progress as society too, and me as a person. So I don't know what you guys thought about that. I don't know, Ronnie, if you had ever seen Queer as Folk UK version or not. So.
Well, that's the funny thing. I mean, Queer as Folk, it's getting a lot of comparisons online. I mean, everyone's writing about it. And I think it was funny. I thought it was actually pretty cool in the sense that there are people with different, you've been around watching these types of shows for years. And for me personally, I could not even, I just where I was at mentally, I didn't want to watch a Queer as Folk. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. I've since went back and seen it or whatnot. But I feel more connected to a show like this. I was watching this with one of my best friends out here in New York, Lauren, and we were loving it. We were loving the way she was describing it with me while we were watching the show, and of course drinking red wine. We were saying, it's a lot of good conversations, and I love the Patrick character right off the top. And I'm sure we'll get into every character, but there's going to be comparisons. But I was happily, surprised with how well it went, and it's going to be a great series, I think.
I agree. I completely agree. Now, it looks like, speaking of one of the characters, we actually have an actor named Raul Castillo who plays
Richie.
Yeah. The gentleman that Patrick meets on the subway, on the phone with us. So can we bring him in?
Hello.
Hi, is this Raul?
Yes, this is.
Hey.
Hi, welcome to AFTERBUZZ. I'm Kylie.
And I'm Scott.
Hi, Kylie. Hi, Scott.
Hi.
We also have another co-host on the phone as well.
What's up, Raul? This is Ronnie. I'm also in New York. How'd you like the show, dude?
How you doing, Ronnie? I loved it, man. I loved it. I've seen it a couple times now, and I just have a great time watching it every time. It's exciting. I'm glad it's finally out there.
Raul, that's actually the question I wanted to ask you. You've seen, you guys have done screenings in New York. You've done stuff in San Francisco. Kind of like, what did it feel like today as being like the day that everybody, the masses now got to see it, leading up to all the press? What was today? Was today a little different, or who were you watching it with? Like, was it a big thing for you? Was it more of a solo night?
It was more of a private night. I was going to watch it with some friends, but then I ended up just staying at home and watching it with my girlfriend, and I watched it here in New York. And did it quiet because I've already seen it with huge audiences, and I feel like it being on TV, I just got to let it live and be in the world and see how audiences respond to it, and let it take its own course. But it's exciting. It's really exciting that it's finally, you know, people are finally watching it. I'm excited to hear what people think, you know.
Well, congrats. I think it's a great show, and I don't know, I would love to recap the show with you a little bit. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, definitely.
We were right before you jumped on the line. Ronnie made a great point that there's a lot of great conversation going on in this show, and I completely agree that Patrick is a really lovable character. He's definitely not perfect, and he makes a lot of human mistakes.
Yeah.
And first of all, at the very beginning, hooking up in the woods.
Yeah.
That's very high school.
Well, no, I was going to say he comes across as very kind of sweet and still has that like innocence about him that I just found really enduring and really it was really refreshing.
Yes. And then
absolutely.
And he makes a complete rookie move on his first date with this condescending doctor who says he admits to being a little what's the word? A little loose. He admitted that he was hooking up in the woods, and I just think that's really silly. And you know, I mean, I suppose we've all said stupid things on first dates, but because he went through that stupid moment, I was totally cheering for him when he met you on the subway.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, he's one of those characters that you just love to watch, you know, screw up or you know, he's just so charismatic, and I think that's a lot of it is Jonathan. I think Jonathan Groff, you know, just brings so much life to it and so much humanity to it, and that's what we I think we're charmed by, and he's so great, man. He's great to watch every time.
Yeah, no, definitely agreed. He just, again, like we say, brought that lightness, that kind of innocence, and it was just fun to watch that. It's going to be fun to watch all the characters actually as they progress this season, just develop and everything. It's been great.
It definitely. I like Patrick's character in the sense of it is a very awkward character, and it doesn't matter if it's necessarily you're a man dating a man or a man dating a woman or whatever your case is. Like, you say those things on those dates, and you say the wrong conversation pieces, and you're shocked. And I thought, you know, I really, as you know, Kylie mentioned before, when he sees Richie, it was kind of like, uh-oh, here we go. You know, could this be something? And I instantly thought to myself, wow. It was interesting because when they finished the bus scene, it was like, oh no, okay. And we'd ride the subways out here in New York. You meet somebody, cool connection, and it did look like Patrick was gonna let it go. Thank God Richie, you know, Raul's character, snapped up and was like, yo, like, can I get your number? I thought that was like a cool part of the show too.
Right, I agree.
Absolutely.
And it felt very organic too. You know, it just felt like you were saying, like you're just on the train, you're just talking to someone, and you have that connection. It was definitely
and it's great, and it's so great too. Like, he has that, you know, that scene with the doctor with Matthew Wilkes is awesome, and as the character of his date, and you know, you just think things are going horribly wrong for him, and Richie really just does come as a you know, out of left field,
right?
You know? And I think that's what happens in Patrick's life. He's not, and that's what I mean. That's how we find love, right? When we're not looking for it. So I was excited when I read the scene. I thought it was a really beautifully written scene, and I'm not the kind of person that would ever in a million years hit on a person like on the train, but Richie is, and it was fun to get to play that, you know, and get to hang out on the Muni all day, and Jonathan is such a great scene partner and such a supportive actor and friend, and we had so much fun shooting that scene.
Now, one question I have for you is, Raul, I know that it's only been one episode, but your character seems really fun. Can you give us like a glimpse of what we can expect from your character, or what, I guess, maybe a better insight on what he's like as a person?
I think Richie is one of the most complex characters I've had the pleasure of playing on any project. I think he's beautifully drawn, and the writers did such an amazing job of continuing to surprise not only Patrick but hopefully the audience as well, revealing things about him and layers and colors that you don't normally see a lot of times. And this is it was so refreshing reading the scripts because they were always a lot of fun. The evolution of the relationship is always it's a lot of fun to track. So there'll be ups and downs. I could say that, and I think the writers did a great job of portraying those early stages of a relationship and trying to negotiate what it is to be in a relationship, and certainly when two people come from completely different worlds, and they have to figure out what that is,
Absolutely.
That was definitely I thought something good about the character, because Richie, maybe he is more the fun guy. He was definitely the go-getter. He saw Patrick, he liked him, he made a move.
Right.
And maybe the two of them could kind of, as like you're talking about, kind of giving us a hint here of the season. It does seem like maybe the two of them will mesh off each other. If Patrick could be a little bit more relaxed, he's a overthinker, it looks like, and maybe Richie, who's a little more fun, maybe doesn't have objectives, maybe he will start to grow. I mean, are we going to see something like that, Raul, possibly?
Well, I think I think they did an incredible job of rendering a character that is thinks for himself and is assured in where he is at in his life, and I don't think he's ever passive. He's always I think it's going to be an interesting season for sure on so many levels, But I think as far as Richie goes, like he really challenges Patrick. He continues to challenge Patrick. I think that's it's going to be a really fun, hopefully a fun storyline to follow.
Raul, and my last question about like Patrick and Richie per se would be, and even the show, like, was San Francisco always the idea of where they were going to shoot it? I mean, is that where you guys initially, when it was written, is that where it was planned? Was it ever going to be in New York? Was it ever going to be in L.A.?
It was written as a short film by Michael Landon called Lorimer that was originally set in Brooklyn, hence the title Lorimer, which is the L stop. In the second stop on the L train in Brooklyn, for whatever reason they changed it to San Francisco, and it's originally was a New York story, but I think San Francisco is a great city to explore the lives of these characters, and from the minute they got into the writers' room, I think they already knew it was San Francisco. So they did a great job, I think, of incorporating the city throughout the season. You'll see into the storyline. San Francisco almost becomes another character in the show, and in the way that New York City is so integral to a lot of other stories, television shows or films that we're familiar with. San Francisco, I hope will do that for Looking. Will do that for San Francisco. Or San Francisco will do that for Looking. It's a really exciting city to shoot in, and such a great community to be embraced by. They were amazing. People there were amazing. Most of our crew was from San Francisco, and we had the premiere there on Tuesday, and I think everyone in the production just feels so lucky to be working on the show, and certainly to do it in a city like that is incredible.
Yeah.
Raul, so and like what happens now as far as like when do you guys get numbers? When do you guys kind of feel and get a sense from the directors and writers and everything of like how good tonight went? How does this little machine work for you from this point on?
I mean, Atrium's pretty amazing at really getting behind their shows, and when they develop something, they have a great history of really seeing things through. But I don't really know specifics about when we'll know what, but I from what I've heard, I think in these next few weeks we'll probably know a lot more about whether or not we'll go into the second season. But everyone's feeling pretty positive and pretty great about it. I mean, the premiere in LA, it was just great. It was a great vibe. Everyone really is falling in love with the characters. I've already started getting messages tonight from friends, old friends, friends from every stage of my life, where sending messages, and people are really connecting with it, whether they're straight or gay or Latino or not, people are already starting to invest in these characters, even from a half hour. In fact, people have already started telling me, like, a half hour, we want more. So that's
right.
That's a good thing to hear already at this point, But I hope that resonates with with the industry. So
yeah,
it'll be exciting.
Yeah,
because I think it's a very, we're on at the right time. I think this is a great time to be on air with these stories, and I think the world is ready for it in a lot of ways.
I completely agree. And you made a good point about how anybody can relate to this show. And I actually want to tie that into talking about Agustín and his boyfriend Frank. I mean, that's straight up just relationship problems 101. It doesn't matter if you're gay or straight, black or white.
Absolutely.
Moving in together, that's a big deal.
Huge deal.
I'm not sure it felt completely equal on both sides. It kind of seems like Agustín is not... The vibe I got was that Agustín isn't quite digging it as much as Frank is, and he doesn't seem as sure about things. But it was interesting when there's that scene where they hook up with his coworker. It was almost like he had to get a nod of approval from Frank. So it's like, who's holding the upper hand in this relationship?
I was gonna say like two things there. It was like what you're saying is you got the impression that for Agustín that there was money issues, and so it was like, is he moving in for the sake of the relationship, or is he moving in because he has money issues? And what I was getting from this is that, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like that. I thought maybe they had been doing that regularly, like maybe having a co-star into their relationship. But it felt to me like seemed like it was the first time that they had invited a third in there. And is that what we're supposed to get? Because the impression when they were back in the apartment and in the evening, it made it seem like that was the first time they had invited a third in there. Was that
right? And I think they do a great job of continuing to explore that theme in that relationship, in those kind of gray areas of relationship, those things that aren't black and white, that aren't cut so clear.
Right.
And I love that. Agustín's a character that maybe he doesn't know what he wants, and,
right.
Or I love that. Yeah, that there's open, that there's questions. Not everything's clear cut with any of these characters. I think But I think they did it. They explore like an interesting, just a reality, a part of human nature with that storyline. I think it's like you said,
and
very universal.
To talk about what Scott was saying, it wasn't this the first time. To me, and I was watching with a friend here, we almost thought Agustín maybe had been in this sort of relationship with Frank, and it's been like that maybe in the past.
Yeah.
But now Frank is maybe taking the clamps and saying, let's do this, let's move in together, let's be more serious. Maybe that's why there was that stutter look for a half second. Maybe Frank saying, I don't really want to keep it open anymore. Agustín still does, clearly.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't sure what it was, which side it was.
That's how I felt it went down. And things change in relationships.
Absolutely.
What was okay at the beginning, in my opinion, if you're moving in with me, you're not doing that anymore. That's how Ronnie Jr. gets down. I mean, that's probably how it worked with Frank too. So,
but you're right. And that's what I thought was great about this show is that it was very realistic in the portrayal of relationships, and all these different guys are going through different stages and different phases of relationships, and it was very organic, very realistic. But that is a good point too, Ronnie, that you brought up about that. Is that could have been the other way around? Like maybe now Frank's thinking, okay, I don't want to be doing this kind of stuff anymore. We're now moving to another level. We're going to be serious. We're moving in together. So that's a good point too.
And did we get the information of how long they've been together? Because that could play impact as well. Like if it's been a couple years, it's that change.
Yeah.
I don't think we really got that.
No, we didn't get that I believe.
Right. I think they tried to kind of give a clearer picture of the relationship throughout the season.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, hey guys, another thing I wanted to mention that I thought was so cool is, did you guys? I mean, obviously we did all the research online to see who plays what character, yada yada. But I noticed that at the beginning we were hearing more about their exes and their lovers and their move-in boyfriends, yada yada, more than we would even learn about what their names were. I thought that was kind of an interesting way for the characters to see. Maybe, as we talked about, Scott, they seem so real.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of that, because I literally was taking my notes talking about, wait, what's his name again? Yeah. You knew Frank, but you forgot Agustín. But it was kind of a cool thing. The way you said the guy wrote the story, maybe it was written that way. That was cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
That is a good point.
That's interesting.
Another thing that I really like about the show, and the three of us hosts were researching some articles before we watched it, was people pointed out that this show is unique in the sense that it's not just another show or another storyline about people coming out. It's beyond that. It's no longer you're 20 and you're accepting that you're gay. It's you're 30 and you are gay and you've had a couple relationships and you're actively pursuing it. And I read a quote in one of the articles that said, you know, when you're younger, you think that when you're 35 or 40, your life is put together, but this show is a perfect example of, you know, things are still not where you thought they would be. And I think the character Dom is a great character. I mean, he seems a little older than the other guys. But he seems to hang around with guys younger than him, and yet he even says he's over the 20-something bullshit. And I think it's funny and unique and sweet that they're kind of delving deeper into this topic of being a gay man and not a gay boy.
Yeah, or you're right, or dealing with the coming out process, and as someone north of 30, I totally agree with that.
You're past it.
Although the interesting thing was too is I guess we're gonna get more into detail with Patrick too, but it still seems like he's struggling with acceptance or being totally comfortable, because they brought up the issue about his mom, you know, at the very beginning of the park, like he was concerned that his mom was calling him, and I think Dom brought it up later in that episode. So it still seems like there's either some kind of discord with the family, or he's still trying to deal with being completely comfortable with himself to some level. Is what I definitely got that aspect from him. Sure.
But it isn't the focus of the show. It's not about identity so much as it is about finding those things that you know that you deserve in life. And I think they're all kind of in this state of flux. All three characters are in a state of flux, and I think their story. And I definitely think this Dom's storyline is so engaging. I think Murray Bartlett is. You know, he just does some beautiful work, because that character is really complex, and he never, he never downplays him. He always brings so many colors to that character, and I'm excited for you guys to see more, see that storyline through. And he has great material with Scott Bakula later on in the season, and it's a really exciting storyline.
Can't wait! I can't wait for that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I would love to jump into making some predictions about next week's episode. Are you ready for that, Scott and Ronnie?
Yeah.
Am I getting wrong?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, Scott, why don't you give us your prediction first? Do you have one?
Well, see, I feel like I'm cheating because I looked, I looked up your character role, and I saw that you were on for all 8 episodes. So I'm like, okay, obviously there's something that's going to be going on with you and Patrick, or your character and Patrick. Which I think is great, because again, we saw the beginning here with Patrick only being in a relationship, which he claimed was 6 months, and everyone was kind of calling BS on that, but who hasn't ever really seemed to have been in a relationship. So this is exciting for me to see that maybe this will develop into something. Are we already talking about the end there, the very last scene?
Yeah.
Where Patrick walks up to the party to Richie's character there at the door, and I thought that was just fantastic. Just like, okay, he made that risk. He decided he's going to go for it. He's going to go to the party. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where their relationship goes from here on out. So that's my prediction, that they're going to get into a really hot and heavy relationship.
Ronnie, do you have any predictions for us?
Predictions, like I said, I think Patrick and Richie will definitely pull each other, sort of, one will get one, an element of the other, and they'll kind of make one grow stronger, and then, Patrick hopefully stops his overthinking. That's all I kind of want to see in that character. I think if I had to choose out of all three, just the most relatable was Patrick. Maybe just even to my story of who I am. Like, I loved him being on the bus and overthinking the whole night, talking to Dom, and then just finally going with it. So I think in this series we will see a lot more Patrick just finally going with it. We just don't want Richie to take advantage of young Patrick. That's not going to be good.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing.
Sweet little innocent Patrick.
As far as Agustín, I really feel like he is just kind of like not being responsible, and I don't know that he's going to be completely honest to Frank. If I read it right, what I felt, which was that Frank wants something to grow, more. I don't think Augustin's going to give him that. So that could cause a big problem with those two. Dom's character, I don't know. I don't know that I was like 100% interested in his character. Maybe we've seen stories like Dom that's on TV before, and the other ones we haven't. I don't know if that's the wrong thing to say. That's just how I feel about it. But if I had to predict Dom, I would say that he is going to try. He's going to be a guy who's about to turn 40. He's going to try hard up until the point where he gives up and he gives in. And we see people do this. They try really hard. He's going to want to try to be a good guy, be faithful, stop chasing the 25-year-old boys, But I think he might just not be that guy, and he's got to face it at 40.
Great points.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with everything that's already been said. I feel like this relationship between Agustín and Frank, I feel like it's going to become tumultuous.
Yep.
It's going to start to get more and more lopsided, and I feel like it's going to be messy down the road. Dom, I did catch a moment where Patrick and Dom joked that they've hooked up. So, I mean, they seem pretty casual about it, but that kind of brought a thought into my head that maybe these guys have history with each other, and if that could put some bump in the road later down the line, if that could mess things up a little bit. And yeah, I'm really excited about this Richie character. I think he's fun, and I think he's gonna bring a lot of light and change in a good way to Patrick's life, which I think he needs. He needs something to shake him up a little bit and kind of throw him off his usual tracks. So. And I was going to ask Scott, because Scott, like he had said earlier, he had watched the Queer as Folk series. Didn't they have a similar storyline like that where the main character, and I guess the other guy's name was Brian, where they kind of had a hookup back in the day? Like, didn't we see that sort of play?
Yes,
so we've
right.
seen a storyline similar. Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I don't know that I feel like they'll ever have like a thing. I think they hooked up back in the day, and that's it.
And
right, I agree.
Of course, it'll be a common bond, of course.
Right, and they have that history and everything, but that's what keeps them connected. And it was interesting you brought that up, Ronnie, about that. It's sort of like Dom had that old school gay kind of vibe to it. I know it sounds like kind of stereotypical, but he was the older one in the group, and I think he has more of a history of like things that, from the past, and maybe he brings a different perspective, I think, than the other guys do. So I did kind of pick up on that when you're saying it with Dom. So I think there's a little bit of that in there as well, but just kind of has that background to him. And the other guys are younger.
Do we have some time to talk to Raul about some questions about, because, what are you guys, as far as the cast, dealing with the comparisons of not only the Queer as Folk or Noah's Ark or whatnot, and then also what are you guys dealing with being the gay version of Girls? Like, I mean, being on After Girls is a great thing, so obviously that's not a problem, right?
Absolutely. I mean, those are such great, shows with such, like, loyal fan bases, and I think it's great that people are starting to think about the show in those terms, but I feel confident that the material kind of speaks for itself, and it's its own thing, it's its own world, and it doesn't try to be anything other than the thing that it is. It's not trying to be a gay anything, it's just trying to be Looking. And I think that the writers did a great job, and the creator, Andrew Haig, our executive producer, and Michael Lennon are like, they put a wonderful family together of actors and designers and crew, and and everyone's worked really hard on it, and I think when you have that kind of level of dedication, then the work speaks for itself. It's going to be something original, and I mean it would be amazing. It's amazing to be part of the conversation where people are comparing the shows.
Raul. And I don't know if you're prepared for it, but I don't know, how social media savvy are you on Instagram and Twitter and all that?
That's what we're just going to say, where we could find you.
I'm on Facebook, but maybe I might get on Instagram soon, but I haven't done that yet. But,
and let me tell you something, Raul. You better get prepared, because there's a thing on Instagram called Man Crush Monday. I'm just saying, they might put you on there. Are you ready for that?
Oh man, I that's amazing. I would be honored.
All right, so that's your homework assignment then. Now you need to, when you get off the phone here with us, you need to get your Instagram set up and your Twitter, so now all of your fans can interact with you, because you're going to get a lot of new fans after tonight's episode for sure.
Amazing.
Speaking on oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of what Raul said, you know, it's not a gay show. It just happens to have those characters. And
exactly.
And I will tell you, as somebody who can't, you know, struggle with sexuality longer in life to kind of get to this point of being comfortable, which is why I identify with the Patrick character. I think that's what's going to bring in a bigger, diverse audience. Why I'm sitting here with one of my friends and she's enjoying it just as a straight woman. She's enjoying the show because it wasn't a show that was, you know, clamped into, you know, this is why you're going to watch it. You're going to watch it because you like the story. You like the awkwardness. You know,
Absolutely.
As Raul said, he, you know, meeting someone online is maybe not it, but he met his girlfriend probably just random, you know, on the subway. Who knows? Like these are real life situations, and I dig it.
Right, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's great to hear. That's thank you.
Well, this was really exciting. I'm definitely anticipating the next 7 episodes.
Yeah.
I think it'll be
7 episodes.
a good season. And Raul, thank you so much for joining us. So,
hey, and congrats again on this great series and being a part of it. And yeah, we're very excited.
Raul, before we let you go, can I ask one last question? On social media, they're also doing a "What are you looking for?" So my question is, what is Raul looking for, and what is Richie looking for? Because we all know what we're looking for, Kylie and Scott and myself. Tell us something, man.
I think Richie is looking for something original. I think he's looking for the real thing in a lot of ways, and I think he's old enough to know what he wants and to go after it clearly. And as far as Raul goes, I'm looking to get a season 2 and for us to keep telling the stories and get to keep bringing these stories to to the world. I mean, I feel so lucky to be part of this show. It's such an incredible family, and we don't get these opportunities often. So I'm cherishing it, and just looking for more.
Raul, you're part of the show. Was there ever audition process wise? Was anyone else that we may know, celebrity wise, actor wise, that was in the running to play Richie? Were you always the one, or was Mario Lopez?
I auditioned quite a few times for this, and I was, in fact, I was told I didn't get it, and then at the last minute, down to the wire, I got a phone call, and it was a complete fluke. But like sometimes that's how. And I don't know who else was in the conversation. Thankfully, I don't know, but it was something. These things happen for a reason, as my dad likes to say, and the kind of, I think, the level of the kind of chemistry I think that Jonathan and I found we were really lucky, because you don't often get that, and the fact that we never met until we were working together, until the night before we shot out in San Francisco, and I feel so lucky to have this amazing scene partner, and I get to work with some incredible actors on the show. So
awesome! And as a bit of an AfterBuzz exclusive, we do know that I freelance for a show called American Latino TV, which is how we originally met Mike. And we know that Raul Castillo will be on a segment. He shot in LA for American Latino TV, so we'll be able to see it. Yeah, you saw my people out in LA, so that's really cool, man. That's really cool.
That was awesome, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Definitely. And thank you to Mike, and thank you for calling us, Raul. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice night.
See you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, awesome. I'm really excited about this season, and Ronnie and Scott, I think you guys feel the exact same way. I think this was a great start to what seems like a good series, and I'm really excited to grow with the characters. So
I am too.
I'd say that's that for tonight. Where can we find you, Scott?
Hey, you can find me on Twitter at sman80. That's SMAN80, and here for Archer, Chosen, and Klondike after shows. What about you, Kylie?
You can find me on Twitter at the Kylie Hodges, and my website KylieHodges.com. And Ronnie, where can we find you?
We could find me tweeting and Instagramming Kylie 100 times a day because I'm in love with her. But outside of that, you can find me social media-wise. Twitter and Instagram, it's at Ronnie Jr. Media. And my website is randomlyronniejr.com. And my YouTube channel is /Ronnie Media page. But this was so fun, you guys. I really appreciate being able to do this all the way from New York. So,
all right. We were great having you all the way from New York, too. Thank you so much for joining us.
Love you, Marissa.
Thanks, Ronnie. Talk to you next week.
We'll be back. Same
From
time.
executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.